Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar presentation of how to stay ahead of the AI search curve, specifically for the HOA management industry. So first, we have a few housekeeping rules. On the call today is Brianna from the Big Rock marketing team, and she'll be available to address any technical issues that you may have. And she will also be able to take any questions that you may have, and those will be answered at the end of the presentation. And you can use the chat feature to ask your questions or to get help with technical issues. On the right hand side of your screen, there is a handout tab where you'll be able to download today's presentation in PDF form. Also, there will be a couple of polls throughout the presentation today. You'll be able to answer the questions to those polls on the right hand side as well. So thank you for joining us today. I will get started. I am John Leutermann, president of Big Rock Marketing. I have over 15 years of experience in digital marketing world and have worked with many community association management companies and focus on that industry right now. And today's agenda is going to be how AI-powered search impacts HOA searches, what changes and what doesn't with SEO fundamentals, creating content AI can surface, quote, and recommend, authority, trust, and entity-based SEO for CAM companies, and then we'll end with Q&A. So feel free, if any questions come up throughout the presentation, feel free to type those in on the right-hand side there, and we will answer them all at the end. So AI search is here, and it's kind of rewriting how everything works from a search perspective and from a HOA management company visibility perspective. And so and on this slide, I just put up some of the more common AI search tools that you may have heard of. You know, we have Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Grok, Google AI Overview, Google AI Mode, Gemini is another one. But you know, as time goes on, I expect more and more of these companies to pop up and to be places that you're going to want to pay attention to. And so here is a market share screenshot. And I've put the source of the website that I found this on. So it's kind of I'm not sure why they have it this way, but it's out of order. What we would want to take away from this is that ChatGPT has the biggest AI search market share right now. And just one thing to note is that what's not included in this list is Google's AI Mode and AI Overviews. So that's not included in this list. So all of the other tools besides that are showing up here. So the biggest one is, like I mentioned, ChatGPT with over 60% market share. Google Gemini with 15%, Perplexity with 5.8%, Claude with 4%, and then DeepSeek just has 0.2%. And you can see all of them have grown over the last quarter. So this is definitely a growing area, something that you definitely want to pay attention to. So now we're going to ask our first poll question. The question is, do you know how your company is performing in AI search? So please answer the question on the right, and we will give you a moment to fill that out. All right, it looks like almost everyone has answered. So the results of the poll are about 75% of companies don't know how they're performing, and about 25% do. So, and that's in line with the management company owners and executives and marketing professionals that I work with. The vast majority of them don't have a way to understand how they're doing. So don't feel bad. You're definitely in the in good company there. And so why does all this matter for CAM companies? And the reason is that board members are now using new ways to find new management companies. And we have more tools that we need to optimize the website for. The days of just worrying about Google are now over. And I think the industry in general is a bit behind the curve. So there's a huge opportunity for the companies that do pick up this new technology and run with it now. So anyone who's proactive will definitely have an advantage over their competition. And despite people using all these AI search tools, your website is more important than it's ever been before. And so today's webinar, we're going to talk about all the different aspects of AI search tools. We're going to talk about how you can optimize your website for AI search tools. And so this is what we'll be covering today. So first, I want to start by just kind of covering, what is the difference between traditional SEO and AI search? And so traditional SEO focuses on keywords and ranking individual pages. And users then, when they do a search, they click links to find answers. So the traditional Google search was 10 blue links on a page, and that has quickly evolved. We're going to show some examples of how it looks now. But users would find a link to an article or to a page that was of interest to them, and they would click on there to find their answers. And then content on the website was written to please the algorithms, to have keyword density, and Google was evaluating each page individually, meaning that even if you had certain topics covered on other pages of your website, they would look at a single individual page to determine whether or not you should show up for a particular search term. AI search is a little bit different than that. So it's focused on entities and context. And so we're going to talk a lot about entities, but just the quick version is that, your company is an entity to these search tools. And so we need to make sure they understand all the information that they need to about your entity, which is your company. And so what it covers is who, what, where, and what expertise do you have. And so that is something that we will discuss a little bit more as we go on. AI search relies on trust, clarity, and structured data to verify facts. And so trust is basically, think about it in the way that if you're a homeowner and you're looking to hire a contractor to do something, which types of sites might you look at to gain trust about a business? And so if you think about it that way, that's the same way that the AI search tools are helping evaluate trust. So if you say, who is the best HOA management company in Chicago, for example, it's going to kind of simulate what a human would do to try to figure out the answer to that question. And so that could be a combination of looking at Google reviews, BBB reviews, Yelp reviews, and just checking to see where your information is found, if you actually provide HOA management services. So they're getting their information from a variety of sources. Users are getting their direct answers from these AI tools. And so the kind of the shift in content is, the recommendation is to write the content so that it answers questions clearly and in a conversational tone. We will discuss that a little bit more as we go on. So here are some examples of different searches that I recently did. And so right here this is Google AI mode. And so if you haven't played around with it, I would highly recommend playing around with AI mode. So when you do a normal Google search, there's a tab at the top left that will allow you to go into AI mode. And essentially what this is, it looks nearly identical to ChatGPT and those kinds of tools as well. So it's basically their version of that type of a tool. And as time goes on, they're continuing to integrate these types of results more and more into their search results. And so I was just doing some searches yesterday on my phone, and I noticed that when you kind of click the read more button in the AI overview section, it actually gets rid of all the other results and it just takes you into AI mode. And so this is definitely shifting by the day, week, month. And so, what we see today may change in the future, but the fundamentals are still the same of what a management company needs to do to be visible in all these different kinds of tools. Here's an example of Claude. And so, it's very, very similar to AI mode and to ChatGPT, but just a slightly different look. Here's an example of Perplexity. So I was just doing, I live in Milwaukee, so I was just doing some local searches to me and seeing how the different results come up. And one of the interesting things to note is that there is definitely some overlap in the results, but the results are different between the different AI tools. So you do get different companies popping up in those results. And then here is ChatGPT, which a service that most people are familiar with now. And ChatGPT, I think being that this is the most popular AI search tool right now, I think this is one, if you only have the bandwidth to pay attention to a few different tools, this would definitely be at the top of the list, as well as Google as well. So if if you're looking to see, now there are software tools available to track your performance, and I'll just give you an example of one. RankScale.ai is one that I use, and it works great. But if you're like, I'm not really looking to spend money on a tool, I just want to kind of have a sense of how we're doing, I would say to look first at ChatGPT and just do some searches in your area. The types of searches that people are doing on these tools are more question based versus Google is more keyword based. So if you kind of form your keyword search into a question, for example, I did, who is the best HOA management company in Milwaukee, and this is the results that it pulled up. So next we are going to have another poll question. So please take a moment to answer the poll. Have you made any changes to your website strategy to optimize for AI search? Give everyone another minute or so to fill out the answer. And so the results are very similar to our first poll question. About 75% of companies have not made any changes to their website strategy to optimize for AI search, and about 25% have. So it's very interesting. So it certainly seems, and this is in line with like what I'm seeing across the industry. Most companies haven't done anything to change their strategy for AI search yet. It's definitely something worth taking a look at and worth considering at this point. So, why do most campsites not deliver consistent leads? And these are just some of the reasons that I've run across. So many of them are older websites, and they're built like brochures, not lead generation systems. They talk about the services that you provide, but they don't guide the visitors to requesting a proposal. And I think just in general, one of the observations that I see in having worked with many management companies and being able to see the analytics, Google Analytics on the back end of their website, is that over 90% of your traffic is homeowners, and so the remaining 10% is potential board members who might be looking for new services. And so it's hard to build a website where 90% of your traffic isn't the people who are actually going to make you more money. So I definitely get the challenge there, and I've seen some management companies do a really nice job of sort of having a dedicated area for homeowners, so that they just can, within 2 seconds of visiting the site, can see where they need to go. Whether it's a drop-down menu in the main menu for homeowners, whether it's I know many sites have a link in the upper right-hand corner to their portals to log in quickly, but yeah, so you definitely have to build your site for both audiences. But for the presentation today, we're specifically interested in making sure you show up for AI search. And so that's going to be more of the board member, the prospective board member type visitors. So we definitely need to focus on that type of content on the website. So another thing that I see on many campsites is thin generic content. So the content needs to be able to tell that search tools what type of work you do and where you operate. And so if you, if you manage condos, townhouses, single family communities, mixed use communities, high rise communities, you need to make sure to tell Google that. You need to make sure that that's present on your website, because both prospects and the AI search tools won't know that you do that unless you have that information on the website. Um, Another thing that I see is no local SEO structure. So, and by local SEO, one of the big things is city specific pages that send the location signals. So, if you don't have the information about what areas you serve, Google and prospects can only guess as to whether or not you serve that area. So, having a clear page for all the major areas that you serve is definitely recommended. Not having a clear conversion path. So, if if the forms on your website are homeowner based, or the ones that are the request a proposal, if those are buried, um, then that's going to be very hard for them to find. And even if they are interested in using your company, it's going to be hard for them to actually contact you. So what I always recommend is any page that's built specifically for a board member prospect, that it have either a contact form on it or a link to that contact form. So you want to make sure any page that a prospective board member would be visiting, that there's an easy way for them to submit their information. So we know that they're going to be visiting on average 3 websites, so yours and 2 of your competitors. So we want to make sure that we make it easier than all of your competitors to be able to contact you if that's what they want to do. So another item that I see quite often is outdated or inconsistent branding that doesn't communicate reliability to the decision makers. So and I think trust is such an important thing for both consumers and for the AI search tools. So and just to give an example, so if you're a member of the CAI, or if you're a member of the CACM in California, or if you're a BBB accredited business, make sure that those logos are prominently displayed on your website, because it'll just give the prospective board members that much more trust in your business, and it definitely will give you an edge over the competitors. And then the last is lack of ongoing updates. So for many sites, they're launched and then it's the furthest thing from anybody's mind. They're not updating it. They're not, creating new pages. They're not, updating information when it becomes outdated. So, and that is usually after a few years that most people can look at a site and tell that it hasn't been updated in a while. And Google and other AI search tools certainly know, because they have an index, and they can tell when they crawled your site last, if anything has changed since then. And so as you make updates to your site, they will crawl your site more regularly because they know that you're making changes to it. So that's super important to keep your site updated. So I'm just going to kind of go through some foundational elements that are good for both AI search and SEO. So the way I look at it is that SEO is sort of the foundation, and then AI search is sort of layered on top of it. But you need to have a good SEO foundation to be visible, and now you need to also have the AI elements included to help be visible as well. So you need to have a clear site structure, and all of these things on here are important for the user who's visiting the site, and also the AI and AI search tools and Google. So you want to make sure that you organize your site by your services, by the cities that you serve, and that the resources that you have available. And so resources could be blog posts, they could be articles or guides for board members. You want to make sure that they're easy to find and that they're structured in a clear and concise way. Um, you want to make sure that your content is entity based. And by that, consistently mentioning your company name, your service areas, and your management specialties, so that as these AI tools crawl your site, it's very clear to them who you are, who you serve, and where you serve. That's super important to them. And then some of the on-page elements, which are considered more of like traditional SEO. So like unique title tags, meta descriptions, headers, and internal links. Those need to all be correct. Schema markup, which is a little more of an advanced tactic. Schema markup is not visible to the user; it's behind the scenes. But schema markup helps AI search tools and Google understand the entities that are surrounding your company, so they helps them understand what it is that you do and where you provide the services, as well as who you are. And so having that markup on the back end is very helpful. Also, some answer-based content. So, especially with the AI search tools, people tend to ask questions about that. So, if people are asking a question about a management service, it's super helpful to have FAQs on your website. And I would recommend having these on all your major service pages. So like, let's say, for example, you have a condo management page. You could, at the bottom of the page, include 5 to 10 of your most frequently asked questions that your prospects have about condo management, and provide the questions and thorough answers, so that if people are asking that question on the AI search tools, that it will also pull in your website into the results. So trust and credibility signals. I've kind of mentioned this before, but making sure your online reviews are really good. And for the HOA management industry, having a 3 out of 5 is usually pretty good. You guys are in an industry where you get dinged for rules that you don't make, but you are required to enforce. And so reviews are super hard. The bad ones come in naturally, and the good ones, they just, people are 20 times more likely to complain than they are to compliment. So the companies that you see out there that have 4+ star ratings, it's not because they just let them come in naturally. It's because they had an effort in their company to consistently ask for reviews whenever somebody had a positive experience. And those people could be board members, homeowners, or even vendors. So it's super important to have a review strategy in-house. Other trust and credibility signals are certifications, any sort of team bios, and any sort of memberships like the CAI that would show authority. And then again, fresh and consistent updates. So ongoing content updates signal relevance to the algorithms and AI crawlers. So we're going to talk a little bit more now about entity signals. So AI tools rely on entity understanding, so who you are, what you do, and where you operate. And so that includes, some of the simple things are making sure that you have your business name, your address, and your phone number in your footer of your website. So most websites, if you put something in the footer, it shows up on every page. And so that's a quick win if you don't have that already. So again, it would be your business name, your address, your phone number, and you also want it to match exactly as shown in your Google business profile. So if there's a mismatch there, you want to figure out what is the preferred formatting. Is suite, if you're in a suite, is it STE or is it suite spelled out? And if you're in doubt, I would say to go with the Google business profile formatting, because that they're synced up with the USPS, the United States Postal Service, and so they use the abbreviations that the Postal Service recognizes, and so that one is sort of like the default one. And if you're ever kind of curious, you can also go to USPS.gov and look up your address, and it will when you put in your address, it'll kick it over to the formatting preference that they have. So that's super helpful. Also, for other entity signals, you want to have a clear about page that defines what your company does and where you serve. Again, the consistent NAP, we call it NAP in the industry, but it's name, address, and phone number across your website and all of your other online profiles as well. And then also organization schema, which is again a more advanced technique, but you want to make sure that in your organization schema, there's one setting that is called same as, And so that you put in, so if you have, let's say, LinkedIn, Facebook, any sort of social websites, Instagram, Twitter, you want to make sure that you have the same as linked up so that Google and other AI search tools know that those profiles are linked to your entity. So that's how you kind of match up your entity. And again, continuing on schema markup. So you want to add schema markup everywhere on your website. AI overviews and Perplexity often cite websites that use clear structured data. And so some of the different types of schema that are available are, and where you would use them is local business schema for your main office page. So that could, depending if you're a multi-location, you'll have different pages for each location, or it would just be your contact page. Service schema can be used on each service page that you offer. FAQ schema can be used on any page that has FAQs. Review or aggregate data can be if you have a testimonial page. And then breadcrumb list schema could be on every page. And that's for internal linking clarity. So it just kind of shows where your pages, which pages you have, and which structure in the menu, how each page appears. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about answer-based content. And so this is definitely an AI best practice. So AI search tools are looking for clear, complete answers to common questions. And so a great way to figure out what this is to ask your internal team, hey, when you work with new prospective board members, what are the top questions that they have? That's a great way to get a start and to know what questions to answer. You can also go into an AI search tool like ChatGPT, and you can describe what you're looking for. So, for example, you could write a prompt that says, act like a board member in a community that's looking for a management company to manage their community. What are the top 20 questions they would have about HOA management? And you can go through it and see, the questions that it gives you. And you don't necessarily need to use all 20, but you could take, 5 to 10 from that list and add them to your website. And you want to make sure that you have a nice, thorough answer as well. Just one more note on that is that I think it's very tempting for a management company to answer the question and have the answer be very specific to their company and how they handle things. I would urge you to be more general in nature, because if the answer that you give is very super specific and it would only apply to your company, then the AI search tools are less likely to have your answer show up in their results. So it'd be better to answer the question in general terms, but have it be correct for the services that you provide, but have the answer be more general so that you're more likely to show up in the results. Also, using shorter paragraphs and clear subheadings is another best practice. Also, I'm hearing more and more about bulleted point sections. So things that can easily be grabbed and put into an answer on AI search tools they're taking. So any sort of heading or a short paragraph, a bulleted list, those are the kind of things that are more likely to appear. And then also, if you provide supporting data or examples, that helps you show up in the results as well. So AI uses semantic chunking. It reads and summarizes well-structured answer faster than if it's all dense, like paragraph after paragraph of marketing copy. So that is the reason why you want to break it up. So in regards to topical authority, and so topical authority, just kind of taking a sky-high view, is if you have two companies and they both have very similar websites. And just to give an example, one company says, we serve condos, townhouses, high-rise, mixed use. We also serve developers, and they just have a bulleted list of the types of communities that they serve. And then there's a second company that has a dedicated full page of content, 750 to 1,000 words, talking about how they serve condos, townhouses, gated communities. So the website that has the full dedicated page to each type of community they serve will show up ahead of the other site. And so, and it's because you have in-depth focused content on that topic. So you want to really dive deep into your areas of topic, and the same, and you kind of got to think about it like if you're a prospective board member and you live in a condo community, you might search condo community management, or who is the best management company for condos, something along those lines. And so if you find a site that just lists that they do condos once versus a site that talks a whole page about the services that they can provide to condos, as a consumer, you're going to want to focus on the company who has all that in-depth information about the service that you need. And so AI search tools try to mimic human behavior and what humans would want. And so that is a great example of how you can, you know, make sure that you are covering that topic in full. Another thing is publishing educational resources or blogs. Um, if you demonstrate your expertise in the management industry and you provide education to board members who many times are inexperienced or new, um, you will show up in searches and you will gain their trust. So, and then also making sure that you have links between the pages. Um, so if you're reading an article, let's say a blog post about a condo management topic, you would definitely want to link to the condo management page. And so that is good for both users to get where they need to go to find out more information, and also for search engines and AI search tools. So, and then just one more thing, instead of using like read more as a link, you would want to use internal anchor text. So learn more about our HOA accounting services in Dallas, for example. And so what that does is it puts those keywords in the link, and then that helps that page. So like, let's say it was an HOA accounting. If you service the Dallas area and it's an HOA accounting page, it will help Google and the other search engines understand that that page is about HOA accounting services because the text link has those words in it. And so AI ranks authoritative sources for particular topics. They're not as fond of generalists. So that's why you want to write in-depth content on your website. And so in summary, AI search is already reshaping how board members find management companies. So because of that, your website must clearly explain who you are, what you do, and where you operate in both human and AI terms. Structured data, frequently asked questions, and entity clarity is becoming even more important to help AI tools understand and recommend your business. Consistent content updates and credibility signals build lasting trust and visibility. So you're going to want to combine AI optimization and SEO best practices to help dominate local search in 2026. And I totally understand that most companies don't have someone on staff who understands how to do all of these things. So you could definitely consider partnering with a company who's expert, an expert company who understands AI-driven marketing, and just somebody who's staying on top of these things. So as the next best practices come out, that your company is already applying those without extra thought. And if anyone would like a free AI visibility analysis, I will personally do that for you. I have, as mentioned earlier, Rank Scale AI. I will put you into my tool and we can see how you're doing in your local market. We will put the link to sign up for the AI visibility analysis on the screen now. And I also have my cell phone and my email and my website. If you have any more questions specifically, you can definitely reach out. I'm happy to help you on a one-on-one basis. And this webinar today, it was part 3 of a 4-part series. So the final portion of the series is going to be next Tuesday at the same time. And it is your website is your best sales person, if it's built for HOA boards. So we're going to dive even deeper into website tips and tricks. So we're going to talk about some of the things we talked about today, but more in depth. All right, so now it's time for question and answer. So please type any questions that you may have into the chat box, and we will answer all of your questions. And as you're typing, Brianna, could you please let me know if we have any questions that came in?
Yes, we have a question from Rachel. What's meta descriptions and what is a schema markup?
Sure. So a meta description, so actually both of those items are invisible to the user and that might be the reason why you aren't familiar with them. So a meta description, if you're doing a Google search and let's say you search HOA management companies Dallas, and when you get to the organic section down below, then there is going to be a link that you would click on, and that's typically the title tag. And the description underneath it is the meta description. And so the meta description, it doesn't, Google doesn't reveal their algorithm, but it doesn't seem like the meta description actually impacts rankings per se. But what it does do is when you're in a list with other competitors around you, the meta description can be written in a way that will entice them to click on your website link versus the other competitors' sites. And so things that might entice someone is if you've been in business for 20 years, I would mention that. If you're BBB accredited, you can mention that. And a meta description is written for each page. So you have an opportunity to customize each meta description to an individual page. And then schema markup. So schema markup is code that's behind the scenes on each page of your website. And it is for Google and other AI search tools to crawl your website and to help them understand more elements about your business. So it's basically taking a lot of the information that's publicly visible and putting it on the back end of your website so that it's more easily digestible for the search engines and AI search tools. I hope that answered the question. Okay, Brianna, any other questions?
Yes. So Martin asked if there's a way to get copies of the first and second presentations.
Yes, we will send those over to you, Martin. Thank you for asking. And actually, we can actually send you the link for the actual presentations. So the videos were recorded, and we will send that over to you. And it looks like Rachel, we'll do the same for you as well. If anyone else would like that, please just put a comment in the chat box.
Okay, perfect. We also have a question. Are board members really using ChatGPT or AI tools to find management companies?
Yes, absolutely. And I can see it firsthand because I have access to many HOA management companies' Google Analytics. And so I do see traffic coming from ChatGPT and also other AI search tools. So I would say that the traffic from ChatGPT is still minimal, but we do get actual leads from ChatGPT. The hard part about other AI search tools, so the biggest AI search tool is Google, but Google doesn't differentiate whether or not when traffic comes to your site, they don't tell us whether or not it came from one of their traditional results, from AI overviews or AI mode. And so we're kind of left guessing, but we do know that a good percentage of their searches are coming from those portions, and that's going to continue to increase. We know that they're switching over to more of an AI search type result, so we expect those numbers to continue to shift.
Okay. And will AI search replace Google rankings?
I believe that it already has started to. Um, So I would think mostly, I think Google is still hanging on, and I think consumers kind of like the idea of Google. So in the traditional search, so when they dive deep into stats, what we're seeing is that more of the question-based queries are happening through the AI search tools, and more of the keyword based queries are happening in traditional Google. But I think that those two areas are going to become more blended, and so that in a year from now, we won't really be able to even differentiate the difference. When we won't even be able to know the difference, they're going to be so similar. So,
Okay.
okay, any other questions?
Yes. Someone else said, how do we know if AI tools are citing our website?
Good question. So there's two ways. One would be to use a tool like one of the ones that I mentioned, rankscale.ai tells us who's citing. But then also, let me, I'm just going to back up to one of the slides of the screenshots here. So this is probably tiny on your screens, but when we look at this result here, we see that there's some like iProperty Management, Novia Co-op, Pewaukee Association, Yelp. So those are all examples of how websites are cited. And then when we look down below by like Ogden and Company, there's a link at the very end, and how there normally is like a link at the very end of each section of content. That is telling us like that is where they got their information from to put. So for the search result, who is the best HOA management company in Milwaukee? They're telling us that that is where they got that information from, is from those websites. And so, like for example, iProperty Management, if possible, you would want to get listed on that site so that your company could potentially be listed in this result as well.
Okay. And then one more question. Do traditional SEO tactics still matter?
Absolutely. Um, so I would say that today, about as far as like what matters for AI search, about 70% of what matters is the traditional SEO tactics. And then the other 30% is some of the newer items that I was talking about today, um, that make up the 100% total to of all the things that matter to AI search tools. So I consider traditional SEO to be the foundational element, and then some of the newer tactics to be like AI specific. But without the foundational elements, it'll be very hard to show up in AI search. So you need to have both.
Okay, that is all the questions that I see. And then for everyone in the comments requesting that we send you the presentations, we have made note. And if anyone else would like them, please just leave a comment.
And thank you to everyone for joining us today. And as offered, if you would like a free AI visibility analysis, please click the schedule now button and we will set up a one-on-one time to go over and to review how you're doing in AI search. Um, and if anyone has any questions specific to their business, I will go back to the screen with my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to answer questions for free, and love working with HOA management companies, and sort of have seen what works and what doesn't. So if you have any questions, just how you're going to handle something from an AI search or any sort of digital marketing standpoint, please reach out, and I'm happy to provide any information that I can. So, and thank you again for joining us today. Again, I hope to see many of you next week, Tuesday at the same time. And you will get a recording of this. It will come out shortly after the presentation ends here. And thank you again for your time.